Oh yeah, welcome to YouTube on a Saturday night. We are live. We are a couple hours removed from this 5-4 absolute roller coaster of a game for the Sharks against St. Louis. Quick road trip out to the Lou and 3 points in 2 games. And you know what? They were that close. They were 39 seconds away last game from 4 points in 2 games, all 4 points. But to play the Blues well, to continue this run of, what I want to say is them looking good. It's basically been a week straight that they have looked good, all 4 games. Looked good against the Golden Knights last weekend, lost that game. Looked good against Anaheim, won that game. Looked good against St. Louis last game, maybe their best of the season. Had to go to overtime and lost, still got a point. But tonight, didn't necessarily look their absolute best, but got the regulation win. The regulation win. And that is such an important factor for this team who's trying to accumulate as many of these as possible. I'm going to be honest with you. As the season got out of its early stages and there was still only that one regulation win, now there's something like 3. But bottom line is 16 games into the season. 16 points they've tabulated. They're basically playing 500 hockey out of the gate. And although I know a lot of people wanted a hot start, wanted a certain something, all things considered, got to be pretty content. 7-7-2. They've played 14 road games out of their first 16. Now they're coming home for 8 straight. And, I will say this, the strength of schedule is daunting, but I feel more confident now about them going into this stretch than I ever did before. I also want to point out here, while I'm doing this live stream, I do have up on the TV over there, of course, the the old Golden Knights Avs game, which started at noon, and it's now 9:47, and we're just finishing up the second period. So it was like 9 hours between goals in this game. Couldn't, as you well know, couldn't finish the game. Couldn't keep the game going. Too much sun, too much reflection, too much ice melting. I could do a whole separate video on this. It's just that when you plan an event like this, I don't understand, because everything went pretty much like the most beautiful day in Tahoe could provide. And it wasn't what hockey needed to be played, So I know they thought there was going to be overcast skies. Anyway, I'm doing a live stream about the Sharks, not that hockey game right there, which I'm a little bit envious that the Sharks are not in. But I digress. Maybe next year. I hope they don't give up on Tahoe. I know they had to reschedule both games, the times. I hope the NHL will continue that trend. Will continue this tradition. I really think it could be a tradition. Look how beautiful it is. Unbelievable. If you could just get the time of games down a little bit better, to go along with the weather, I hope the Sharks could play there in a season upcoming. Anyway, back to San Jose. What more can you say? Another hot start. A 2-0 lead after 1. A 3-0 lead less than 4 minutes into the second period. Tomas Hertl found Rudolfs Balcers. We thought he had 2 goals in the game. Turns out that just got his first with the Sharks. And then later on, the one that was the game winner, it looked like he might have tipped it. In fact, I thought he did. We talked to him in the post-game interview. Said he wasn't sure, which means he probably didn't get it. And in fact, they already changed it to Logan Couture. So a 2-goal game for the captain. He's now got 9 goals in the first 16 games of the year. That is something to be documented. It definitely is. And how about this? Devan Dubnyk getting the start in today's game. And up till this point, no wins on the season. Crazy. He played well enough to win multiple games before this, but didn't. And in the game where he has a really rough second period, allows 4 goals, he gets that first win. And he hadn't played since February 6th. And I'm telling you, he was playing well before the injury, the unspecified lower body injury. His prior 2 games before that, a 194 goals against, a 944 save percentage. Isn't that crazy? Didn't get wins in either of those games. Played great. Today, not his best showing. I mean, he allowed 4, but he gets the win in this one. So I'm done trying to figure out sports. in certain regards like that. Hey, let me real quick pull up, and if I could do this. Oh, look, it works. Joshua, I really appreciate you for being on the super chat there. Evander Kane, I believe, had his best game of this season so far. And it wasn't just the goal. It wasn't just an assist on the second goal. It wasn't an assist on the Patrick Marleau goal, although it was all of those things. I think what I'm saying is if you take the scoring away, Kane was all over the ice. Kane was a factor. Kane was hustling. It was the kind of Evander Kane. I don't know if you all remember this, but when he came over initially, though, and it was like this time of year, right before the trade deadline, February of a couple years ago, when he came over, he had a couple just monster games, back to back to back to back, and it was kind of a throwback to that in a very, very good way. So happy for Evander Kane to have this type of game, and really happy for the Sharks. Like I said, they've been playing well for a week straight. Have they figured some things out? Like, have they taken some strides? Have they honestly, by the way, let me hit this 10-minute timer right there, because otherwise, I will go like 45 minutes here. Have they figured out their blueprint? And I know a lot of people say identity, and I guess part of your blueprint is your identity, but I think the term blueprint maybe fits the bill better in that you're trying to figure out the way to replicate wins and performance over and over. I said it going into today's game. You play the way you did the other night when, unfortunately, the Blues scored within the last minute of regulation, extra attacker. They scored late in the overtime period because they were on a power play. But if you sustain what you did in the 60 minutes plus last game, if you do it again tonight, you're going to like the results. Now, giving up 4 goals in the second period is not going to help your cause. It's not going to help your blood pressure. It's just mind-boggling this season. I like seeing competitive games. Don't get me wrong. I really do. At the same respect, I would love if the Sharks could have a game or two where it's in hand and all you have to do is manage it from late second period on. And I'm not saying you take a third period off. I'm just saying that you're up by a couple, you just drive that to the bank, and that's how you get your win. Tonight was the 5th, and check this out. Another thing that just doesn't make sense. Tonight was the 5th time this season that the Sharks blew a multi-goal lead. They were up 3-0. Then it became 3-1. Then it became 4-1. All right. You're up 4-1. Still up by 3. And then you give up the next 3. But in those 5 times that they've blown a multi-goal lead, they are 4-1-0. 4 times they have come back to win that game where they had a multi-goal slip-up. And I also want to say, I'm not positive about this, but I combed through the games to just refresh my memory here. I don't know that the Sharks before tonight, had they ever been up by a 3-goal lead this season? I don't think so. And they had 3-goal leads twice tonight. So that was their biggest lead of the season, and it was early in the game. It was 20 less than 24 minutes in. So you're not even halfway yet. But hopefully in the future they can get some of these leads that are more manageable. But I'm going to keep on this trend. NHL for the Sharks this season stands for no huge leads. And that honestly goes both ways. Out of the 16 games that they've played, haven't 12 been like either way type games? Could have gone to the Sharks, could have gone to the opponent. Kind of feels like that. And you got to say, of those 12 games that could go either way, they've won 7 times, right? Because let's be honest, there were at least 4 games that they just were not in. Either were not in from the start, or halfway through it was like, they're not in this anymore. I feel like 2 of them in a row were in Denver against the Avs. Wasn't there like a 7-2 game? And one of the Minnesota games I feel was like that. And then actually one of the games against Arizona was like that. But look, you're gonna have some of those. I'm just saying that they have yet to give you a win that was pretty much determined around the halfway point of the evening. It would be nice. It would be nice for them. Look, I don't care. You get the results like tonight. What more can I say? I'm just saying on them, it would be a lot easier. Happy for Logan, like I said, leading the team now with 9 goals. Great game by Evander Kane. How about Rudolfs Balcers? Put in that second line spot a couple games ago and absolutely delivered tonight. Now, let's talk about this first. Let's talk about Logan's line. Logan and Evander and Kevin Labanc tonight, just monsters, especially in the first period. Thought they really helped set a tone for the game, not just the goals, but the 7 or 8 shifts they had in the first period. I thought those were tremendous in tone setting. And then now let's get to Balcers. A situation where you get that promotion, and I do really, really like this about Bob Boughner. I like the fact that he's not afraid to promote a young guy. So you're up on this line now. You're up in this role. Let's see what you do. And I'm also here to say that he's not doing this procedurally. I really don't feel like Boughner feels obligated to, all right, we got to give this guy a turn. It's not like that. And I would also say about Bob Boughner, while we're looking at the first year, full-time head coach of the Sharks, he's been a head coach before in Florida, and he's been the interim coach, but not the head coach in San Jose. I love his honesty. I love the way that he goes about post-game interviews and assessing players. He's not going to cover up for a guy. He's not going to bury a player, but he's also not going to tell you a player had a great game or a great sequence or a great whatever when they didn't. And vice versa. Boughner has also said several times recently about a guy like Kevin Labanc. He's playing well, and the stats don't indicate it. So don't fully buy in on the stats. Hey, why didn't the 10-minute timer start? Did I? Well, you're getting bonus time here on I almost said the podcast, here on the YouTube live stream. So I like the fact that Boughner is honest both ways. He'll pump a player up that deserves better than what the stats have been, and he'll also be very real with you about somebody who's not meeting the mark. So I think it's tremendous. I like that honesty. I like the way that he's seeing and interpreting things. And look, what does that matter to us in the media or you at home as a fan? I'm just here to say that if a coach can translate all this stuff to us and you very well, that means to me that he's also he's got the confidence and he's managing his players with that same either approach or deliberate tone. He's got it going, basically. So I like to hear it like that, and I'm pretty sure that translates to what the players are hearing as well. Talked about Balcers. Happy for Patrick Marleau. First goal of the season. Felt like a couple games ago he was knocking on the doorstep a few times, just couldn't get that first goal done. But I do like the fact that he was in there tonight and got one. Hey, I do want to get in on the chat session here, so let me see if I can fire this up. Yep, we're off and running. Big Bird saying the 6th man in St. Louis has been their officials. I like Logan Couture tonight. Hey, Logan, what'd you think about the refs? I'm not going to comment on the refs. I think that pretty much says everything right there. And look, the other night, when the Sharks gave up 3, scored 2, but gave up 3, the 3 goals they gave up, the first one was on a power play, so penalty, opponent man advantage. Second one was even strength, but the Blues had pulled their goalie in the final minute. Okay, extra attacker. And then their third period goal, their overtime goal was 3-on-3, but in reality it was 4-on-3 because they were on the power play. Patrick Marleau had taken a penalty. So, and how many power plays did the Sharks even get on this entire road trip, 2 games to St. Louis? Twice? I know that. Did they get none tonight? 1? Were they on a power play for embellishment? I think they were. Let's see what Andrew says here. A win is a win. Glad to see it in regulation. And that's the thing. If the season is going to be this tight, first off, every game you play is against a division opponent. So I know as crazy as this sounds, you you are giving up points on overtime and shootout games. Even if you win, you're giving points up. But so long as you're garnering them, so long as you are collecting points, what the Sharks have done in 9 of their 16 games, more than half the nights, the Sharks are getting points. So, and the standings are pretty tight. Most teams, Curtis mentioned this, I'm going to go double check. Do you say that all but one of the teams in the West have a 500 record or better? I mean, that is the ultimate parity right there. Not P-A-R-O-D-Y. P-A-R-I-T-Y, parity. Let's see here. What was the temperature? Austin asking this. What was the temperature when the Sharks played the Kings at Levi's? Couldn't have been colder than it was at Tahoe today. Okay, so it was a fairly chilly, it was a typical February night in Santa Clara County. It was, I don't remember it being warm at all. It's shaded on the cooler side, but I'll tell you what it is today in Tahoe. It's that direct sunlight. And I think all of you know who've spent time up there, you get up at 6,500 feet, whatever lake level is, and there's that less layer of ozone. And when it's a clear sky, like even on a cold day, you still feel the effects of the sun. And they said they forecasted it for a little bit of overcast, and it didn't happen, and they were testing it out in warm-ups. They thought they'd give it a go. I'm just happy that the outdoor game, somebody hit the brakes on it. Somebody said, guys, we can't do this. And for the real reason that I wouldn't want anybody to get hurt. If it's something that players could muscle through, which, is a term that means basically just deal with it. I'm glad that enough people said this is not doable. We need to stop this right now. We'll save it for later. Because as much as I think it's a huge inconvenience that these guys had to shut it down, go back to the hotel, and finish a hockey game 9 hours later, I'd rather have that than 2 or 3 players with ACLs, MCLs, you name it. Whatever ailment they would have suffered. I'm just glad that this is the way they're doing it. Whoever made that call, whoever ultimately had to pull the trigger that nobody wanted, I'm glad that they did it. Ducky here. Whoops, let me go to this. Ducky saying, the young defensemen are looking really good right now. I'd be hard-pressed to rush Karlsson back into the lineup. Well, let me just say it like this. And Shemek is out too. I think Shemek was on this trip just to be around the team, and they're hoping that they can reintegrate him soon. Karlsson, I mean, who knows? He didn't make the trip, and I wonder what, if he shut it down for a little while. I don't know. And we probably won't know for another couple days where exactly he's at. But I have to say, Milosh and Claesson jumped right in, and maybe not playing exaggerated minutes, but doing just fine in the minutes that they've been given and entering tonight. Plus minus is a weird stat. Plus minus does not always indicate what you think it does. But Milosh was a +3 entering tonight, the same as the leader of the team in plus minus, Logan Couture. So Milosh and Logan Couture were both +3 to lead this group. Just gives you kind of an indicator of how he and Claesson are playing, and I think it's great. And I also would say this: I know there's a lot of comments, and I'm seeing them here, and I'll get to some. I know there's a lot of commentary about Vlasic's season thus far, which I think even lately he's turned a corner. And I know there's a lot of commentary about Erik Karlsson performance lately. Let me just say this. I think it's to that point there, I think it is great that you don't have to rush Erik Karlsson back. Imagine if you did. Is that a win-win situation, rushing a player back? Versus, hey, we're fine for now. We hope whatever was ailing you can be remedied. And when you do get it right, let's see how this shakes out. And quite honestly, let's see how it shakes out in terms of jumping back in the lineup. When does this make sense? How does it make sense? Make it a bit of a competition. Make it a healthy competition for the team and for the players. And I don't think that's any different from any other selection of players on this team, whether it's forwards, goaltenders, or in this case, defensemen. Cam here saying, Sharks looked a little bit better on the forecheck, and with the physical play tonight, the refs were questionable. Cam, I agree with you, man. I think the officiating was frustrating in this series. Let's hope that little rash of questionable stuff comes and goes, and that was all it was, because the Sharks still, like I said, 3 points out of these last 2 games. Let me see what else are going on here. Other comments that Zach saying these next 8 games at home are critical. You know, I said before that I always knew this would be a very tough stretch, like when you're playing the Avs, the Golden Knights, and St. Louis, like a bunch in a row. But I feel so much better now about this stretch. The way they've played in the last week has convinced me they're ready for this, especially at home. If you would ask me a week ago, how do I feel about this stretch? I would have said, but instead, I feel pretty good about it at this point. Sorry, I'm really going all out here with sound effects and everything. Zach also saying Sharks need to win by at least 2 or 3 goals, just once or twice, right? Just see how that feels. Mike saying, how about Jay Leno? Get him a playmaker and it's on. I really like John Leonard. And it's crazy because his first couple games had those 2 assists against Arizona. I think the next night he almost got a goal, and game after that he almost scored again, hit a post or something. I'm like, this guy is just coming in hot, and then kind of tailed off, and then wasn't in the lineup for a while, and then came back into the lineup, a goal 2 games ago, a goal last game. I agree. I'm very up on him. I want to see more of Ryan Donato. It's been a couple quieter games for Donato, even though he's been, contributing in certain ways. In fact, he assisted on one of the Leonard goals. So I would love to see. I would love to see more Leonard success, and I'd love to see more Donato success. Alaska Airlines. Vlasic has been quite dull lately. Okay. I challenge you, Alaska Airlines. Oh, it's my 10-minute timer. But don't worry, I'm sticking around for a bit. I don't know how to say this. I want Vlasic to play a dull game. What do I mean by that? I feel like in the best seasons we've ever seen Pickles, right? In the best, really, seasons and sequences, right? Whether it's a homestand or a road trip or whatever, half a season. It's just like he's going up against other teams' top pairs. And I know that's not necessarily always the case right now, but, you'll know when he's on his game, he's going up against the other team's best, and you're just not hearing a bunch from them. And so that, I know, I don't want Brent Burns to be dull, right? It's weird. I want Vlasic. I don't want to hear a lot, right? I want steady Eddie. That's what he is the best at. Your team needs some D-men like that. And again, I realize he was a third-pair defenseman a couple games ago. But I, like I said before, the best way to probably sum it up with him right now is just like this team in the last couple games. I really feel like he's turned a corner. And I saw a comment here about, what was that? Something about, when Šimek comes back, maybe Vlasic drive. I don't, and here's the other thing. If you're also telling me that, hypothetically, if a Burns, a Carlson, and a Vlasic are on separate D pairs, which when Erik Karlsson first came to the Sharks, I thought, maybe the best way to handle this would be have all 3 of these guys separate. But then the other thing I realized is if you want Burns to play, 27 minutes a night, like you're not going to have time for the other 2 pairs. So you're going to have to pair some of these guys up. But I don't, how do I say this? I don't necessarily want it to be a competition for what combo you are, the first, second, or third D pair. I'd rather just have it be more of a sense of getting good games under your belt. And realistically, too, team defense. Let's go back to one of the focal points. Team defense had been an issue for the Sharks. Like all last year, at certain points of the start of this year. And yes, giving up 4 goals in a period does equate to team defense. Braden Shen, Zach Sanford on a tip, Ryan O'Reilly, Jordan Kyrou. 4 goals within, the 20 minutes there. In fact, their first one didn't come until almost 5 minutes. So 4 goals in 13 minutes. That was fast. And the other thing is, how do you define the second period for San Jose? They came off 2 really good games in a row where they reversed the curse of the second period. Tonight, kind of fell back into that trap. But I will say, gave up 4 but scored 2. I've seen worse. And you knew the Blues were going to come with a push at some point. It just happened to be within 13 minutes of the second period. So, team defense is definitely something that's turned the corner. Marc-Edouard Vlasic is a player that's turned the corner. And look, I know I'm singling out players here because we're talking about them. I'm being asked about them, but the whole team has really found, I think, in this stretch, next steps and more defined roles. I really do feel like that. All right, let's see. I am so sorry that I got lost in the chat here. How about is this one here? Can we go to the crib cam? How's the kid? My son is sleeping right now. Yeah, the other night, I don't even think I got through 10 minutes of the live stream. He woke up. I had to scramble and go. But I am watching here. Let's see. It's a 2-1 game. Vegas on the power play. Oop, did I say I said Vegas. I meant Las Vegas. Oh, come on. There we go. I meant Las Vegas. You honestly cannot rename your city as a sports team. Like if the Sharks wanted it to be called the, I don't know, Jose. It's not the Jose Sharks. It's the San Jose Sharks. You don't like the word Las because it's Las Vegas Golden Knights. That's 4 things. They didn't want that, apparently. The NHL didn't want 4 names. But you can't rename your city, and I know. Frat kids call it Vegas. I still do sometimes, too. But not formally. How old do I sound right now? Get off my lawn! Oh, look at that. A 5-on-3 for the old Golden Knights. Oh, if you don't tie up the game now, early third. And it is kind of a shame. To be honest. All right, enough of this. Enough of the casino. There you go. It is kind of a shame that the weather has forced. Let me put a new comment up here. The weather and the sun conditions have forced us to be at night. I mean, this game looks like it could be played in any forest across the country right now. But at least they got their daytime shots. All right, best player on the Sharks overall this season. That's a great question. Is it Logan with the amount of goals? Is it Brent Burns logging the most minutes and also looking like a much more tightened up defensive hockey player this year? Could be. Yeah, I mean, I would throw, in terms of players I'm interested in, I already talked about Donato, John Leonard, interested in him. And Ferraro has had really good games. I think there have been a couple where I don't even want to say steps back, but, I think as a first full year that he's getting, and this isn't even a full year, what am I talking about? There is a learning curve, especially as a D-man in this league. I still love the steps he's taking. I'm just saying I think as a forward, it's easier to make those strides. Excuse me. Saw a report that Gambrell got injured. Is it too serious? I saw him get creamed into the half wall, and I'm not sure if that was one of the last hits he took, but I think that was in the second period, and I don't recall seeing him in a lot of shifts in the third period. So we'll keep an eye on that for Gamby. I honestly, I do not know. Go Nordiques! I am digging those sweaters. Those are pretty awesome. The color scheme and the sweaters, and yeah, I'm jealous. I am definitely jealous. Thomas Bordalo, remember that name. All right, Mike. You got it. Big Bird. Vlasic is a great underrated defenseman, one of the best, never gets any credit in my opinion. I'll just say this. Vlasic for years was going up against the best in the league. And like I said before, a lot of games we didn't talk about him because he was just shut down, locked down, and, you know, it's funny. Ryan Getzlaf, Corey Perry, and Bobby Ryan here on the live stream. So Julio likes Kane's game. I agree. I said this on our post-game show. Evander Kane's best game of this season happened tonight. No doubt about that. B-Dog, what's up? Hey, how about it real quick? If you're watching this and you're on the live chat, just give me a quick rundown of where you're at tonight, what you're doing, how you're getting through this. And I do mean how you're getting through month 11 of the pandemic. It is, wow. It is taking its toll. Hey, John. Brody, what is the actual number of remaining home games versus road games? Well, John, let me let me do some simple math here because I don't know the answer, but I can find it out. Okay, so 56 total, and that means you're playing 28. Oh, wait a second. I just realized something. We are halfway done with the Sharks' road games for this entire season. Now think about that for a second. And John, I'll leave this up for a second. And thank you for being on the super chat, by the way. I really do appreciate that. By the way, any super chat fund goes to home studio maintenance updates, cool stuff I can do here in the future. Hopefully more of it. I do all this myself. This is not this is more hobby than work related. So I really do appreciate it. But 14 road games done, 28 total, and only 2 home games under their belt. That is, you never hear about that under regular circumstances. So let me just do the math here. So let's see, 14 more road games and 26, so 40. Yeah, and that makes you, Brody, you idiot. You idiot. Of course, if you've played 16 and there's 56 total, of course there's 40 left. But you asked the actual remaining home games versus road games. So 14 left on the road and 26 at home. Basically a 2-to-1 ratio of home to road games right now. And so I don't know the, what is the benefit? What is the real benefit of playing home or road here during the pandemic with no fans at most rinks? It's not really the game, atmosphere, environment. The benefit is all the hours you're not at the rink. When you can sleep in your own bed, eat your own food, drive your own car, see your own kids. That's the impact stuff. And that I think is not as tangible as like if I told you, well, you get last change. Okay, great, because you're the home team. But to that point, I do think it's important that they get home for a bit and they get in a groove for a bit. Oh, David, Melbourne, Australia, as always, mate. Oh, I appreciate that, man. Cheers to you too. Would love to visit Australia someday. I can't even think of travel right now, honestly. I can think about it, right? But it's just how many more months or years are we talking until people are actually traveling? Like, if I want to go to Australia, am I doing it for 2022 right now? And is that even a guarantee? And I appreciate the fact that you say here in your next comment, no lockdown here right now. Lucky you, David. Lucky Australia, lucky New Zealand. And not just because you live on an island. I know you guys have been doing things right. Mike, thank you for giving us hope, but it's going to be a rough rest of the season. I'll just say this, Mike. As of right now, what I've seen in the last week gives me a totally different feeling about these next 8 games at home, which I think brings them to something like March 5th or 8th or something, or 3rd, early March. I feel a week ago, before they played these last 4 games, I would have told you about this stretch. But right now, in the 8 remaining, I really do think they are. I think they're equipped to hold their own, if not do so much. Play up to the level of opponents. Do I think they're going to coast through this? No. These are tough teams. This is a tough stretch coming up, and it very well could define the rest of the season. But do I think this is going to break them? I don't think that. Do not think it. Again, if you asked me a week ago, I may have had a different answer. But as of right now, John, you're from Indiana? Is that what you're saying? Let's see what other comments I can get through. Big Bird, I get that. Look, here's what's going to be difficult about that. Division R and TV right now. Even though, by the way, when you watch these games, like the level of play, and it's not the same ice. They're outdoors. There's distractions. I'm not here to say that this game looks slower, but it doesn't have the same like cadence of a regular NHL game at a real rink. What was I saying? Okay, so you're getting into the competition for that 4th playoff spot, and you have 5 teams to try and do it. And, take San Jose out for a second. The other two California teams, LA and Anaheim, probably not going to be there in the mix I'm talking about. So you're talking now about if San Jose is going to be there, it'll probably be with Arizona and Minnesota. And those are each 2 very good teams. And the problem is I'm still stuck on the 2010s. When I think about Arizona and Minnesota for most of the 2010s, I'm thinking maybe a playoff team, but not guaranteed. But I am thinking that the Ducks and Kings are going to be there every time. Literally the whole division has changed course. The Avs of 5-6 years ago are not the Avs of right now. The Golden Knights of 5-6 years ago, well, they didn't even exist. You get my point. And St. Louis even. I think, 5-6 years ago, right? 5 years ago at least, they were playing the Sharks in the conference final. So they have kind of been like San Jose, a little bit of hot and cold with some ultimate hot in there as well too. But I really feel like the competition for that 4th and final playoff spot is going to be so tough. If there were 2 spots up for grabs in 3 or 4 teams, okay, there's chances. I'm just saying I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying grabbing that 4th and final spot going to be difficult. Let's go to Funzy. I did not get a lot of location responses. Jump in the chat. Just tell me where you're from. I want to kind of rattle through. Let's be honest. I really want to play with my new chat toy over here. I want to go through as many comments as possible. Where do I see the Sharks finishing this year? If not 4th, close to it. I'm trying to be realistic. I think some people would tell you, oh, they'll be a playoff team. Okay, I'm not saying they can't. I'm saying that, more than a quarter of the way through the season, I don't know that I wouldn't wager on that. But I do think that they will challenge for that. It's got to be the intention at this point. All 3 games have been a huge improvement. I agree. It's 4 games in a row that they have played really, really well. Oh my goodness. Yeah, Brazil live stream for 10 or 15 minutes, and I just realized I've been on for 40. So I'll tell you what, if there are a flurry of comments here on the chat, I'll give it one more second, and I will get to those. But if there are not, I won't play the music, but I will play the music in a second. If they are not, I'm going to head out of here, probably watch the remaining half of the period of this game and see where it goes. Where has Evander Kane been? He's been lighting the lamp. What do you mean? What do you mean, Will? Did you see the game tonight? Another win comes Monday. The old Minnesota Wild. And that's another thing. How have the Sharks been all the way out? So the farthest east that they will go this regular season is St. Louis. Like geographically speaking, farthest east. They've already been there twice. They are done with their farthest travel away. It's just nuts. It's nuts how hard the beginning of this schedule has been. You don't like Fleury's pads? I gotta tell you, these red Las Vegas jerseys and also the mustard brown ones that they wore the other day, I'm not mad at them. I'm really not mad at him. Couture is the best player. Zach, I'll tell him you said that. It's a good question, though. John, man, you like the Drew interviews on the channel. I appreciate that. John, thank you again for the super chat. So, I did a long form interview with Drew. I put short clips on. And I also put recently the full, 30 minutes, the 30-minute version up there. Rafi Torres, same thing, a bunch of small clips of different topics. And then I put the full thing on this morning. So that's now recently on the channel. I think it was 20 minutes with Rafi. I have a couple of, I just want to let you guys know, if you're not subscribing to the channel right now, can I talk you into it? Can I, oh no. Oh shoot. I have the super chat on at the same time as I have that. Let me see if I can get that to go. Okay. Subscribe to the channel right now. If you could and if you would, that would be great because I'm really trying to build it up to 6,000. Now, once I get it up to 6,000 subscribers, I will release some cutting room floor footage of Sharks Late Night Confidential from the year 2010. Me, Drew, and Randy in a hotel room in Cherry Creek, Colorado. Stuff that used to be on YouTube got tons of views. In 2010, in a week, it got 7,000 views, which is nobody even knew about YouTube necessarily like they do today. So I'm gonna repost that stuff as soon as I get to 6,000. But what I really wanted to tell you is I have a couple players lined up, a couple former Sharks that you guys, I know you love, and you're going to absolutely love hearing when I can connect with them on FaceTime and put the interviews up. So more of that still to come. John in Evansville, Indiana. I believe on the old trip to the lake, the family trip to the lake that usually happens in most summers. I believe we drive through Evansville, Indiana, if I'm not incorrect. If I'm accurate. Let me see here. Big Bird, you are on Earth. I appreciate that. Could you be a little bit more specific? And if I ever visit Australia, David will buy me a beer. I'm not even going to make the Foster's joke, but actually, if I'm going all the way to Australia, I do not want Foster's. That's like going to America and drinking a Budweiser. I mean, sure, maybe one of the 45 beers I drink would be a Budweiser or a Foster's, but I'd rather have some of the local stuff. When will we see Timo at his best? You know what? We have seen flashes of Timo this year, and maybe just not as consistent as we'd like. Still think he's got all the tools, and I still think he's built for success in this league. Just consistency. Will, if you missed the game, oh, okay, I know why you say you missed the game, because you asked about Kane. Well, he had a really good one. So if you want to watch Kane play really well, this was his best game of the year, and I wouldn't even say necessarily lately I think he's been better lately, but I think he was especially good tonight, noticeably good. So watch tonight's game, but fast forward in the second period from about 4:45 into the period on. Just go right to the third period. Watch the first 4 minutes and then fast forward. There you go. Oh, and you just subscribed. Will, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. All right. I think that I might sign off. It's been real. I got a couple other things I want to work on before I go to bed. And I would also like to, get to bed at a decent hour. I will fall asleep with this hockey game. So, hey, we'll see you on Monday on television. Sharks win 5-4 in regulation. Nothing is going to come easy this year. This is the NHL, the no huge leads league for the Sharks. And they just beat the Western Division leading St. Louis Blues. Blues had the most points in the league coming into tonight. In the division, into tonight. 16 down, 40 to go for the Sharks. Well, maybe 40. We'll see how the next couple months go. I like the way they're playing. I like what they have found. Thank you to all of you who are here tonight. Let's do it again soon. And until next time, be safe. And I will see you on television in the very near future. Good night.